So Zebec's going to be doing this. Now, granted, the price of ZBCN isn't doing the best, but they're still going to be doing this. Nothing I say is financial advice, but what is it? The Zebec alongside Tangem is going to be appearing in a soccer match in the Bundesliga. And this is going to be against Bayern Munich versus Hamburger SV. People like to tell me, who cares about this? ZBCN's around 40 times lower than 10 cents as we speak. I'm totally aware of this situation, but I can't ignore that this is at least something positive, I suppose, when it comes to Zebec fundamentally, in terms of maybe having more attention and also more exposure, right, by appearing in a soccer match of that magnitude. And the thing is this, when the news of the Zebec and Tangem partnership was announced, a lot of people were a little bit more enthusiastic when it comes to that. But now, with the pullback, a lot of people are no longer enthusiastic. But I haven't forgotten about those moments because when it comes to Zebec fundamentally, it seems like they're still striving to achieve things, right? Keep in mind, Zebec not too long ago achieved ISO 20022 compliance, and then now they have this going on when it comes to Tangem. But I get it. People like to say, okay, it's kind of meaningless if the price of ZBCN isn't doing the best. But personally for me, I don't necessarily view it in this way because if a project to me, I feel like improved fundamentally, yet the price is going down, I personally, even though I can't speak on anyone's behalf and I'm not telling anyone to do anything, I want to be even more focused because the way I view it is that if a project improve, yet the market's having a pullback, that's when I want to be more focused because it just makes sense to me, right? If I'm only believing in something when there's a lot of attention, yet ignoring it when there's no attention, what's the point? Because imagine if I only believed in, let's say, in a make-believe scenario, Bitcoin at around 120 grand, but then kept ignoring it when, let's say, it's having a big pullback. How does that make sense to me? Because in a random make-believe scenario, if let's say I was holding Bitcoin at $2 for whatever reason, and I held until right now, wouldn't I be way happier if I did it back then? But I clearly didn't. And I can't go back in time, but I'm just saying, in a make-believe scenario. So my perspective is that when it comes to something like Zebec, when people are ignoring it, that's when I want to be more focused on because I still like the narrative of the market that it's focused on. Keep in mind, Zebec is focused on global trade and finance, primarily speaking. What are two major players when it comes to this space? Ripple and as well as Stellar. So if people are telling me that Zebec is done for, is Stellar and Ripple done for? I personally highly doubt that. They're just too massive, and I think the space overall is having a pullback. It's not just projects that are focused on global trade and finance. So when it comes to this situation, if I feel like the global trade and finance space has historically proven to have decent attention and also has been proven to have the longevity, I do not personally want to give up on a project that is currently ranked number 4 in terms of that space, personally speaking. And I think that right there, currently number 4 within that space is something like Zebec. So I just don't want to give up on that. Had the market not been proven historically, had, let's say, the market showed only momentary moments of brilliance, then it's going to be pretty easy for me to give up on that. But I just haven't seen that when it comes to the space of global trade and finance, and I haven't seen kind of the space be forgotten about completely. The thing is this, if things are having a pullback, if I'm looking to dollar cost average, I would be happier if, let's say, I could dollar cost average at a lower point. Now, I'm not telling anyone to do anything. However, in theory, right, the lower something is, the farther the ceiling is. I mean, I take a look at the partnership they had with Algorand. I take a look at how the backers do include something like Circle, the creator of USDC. If something like Solana Ventures and Circle hasn't given up on Zebec, it's also going to be pretty difficult for me to give up on this because those projects, their team is very well experienced, right? Circle, we take a look at also Solana Ventures. They know that this market could hypothetically go up and down. But I think what they can see is the fundamentals, right? So if a lot of projects out there are having a pullback, I feel like they notice the ones that still have the good fundamentals, which is why I feel like they even believed in Zebec back then, right? They're one of the backers when it comes to Zebec. So as of right now, seeing this pullback, imagine this. Was it easier for Circle to believe in Zebec back then or right now? I feel like it's a lot harder back then because it hasn't really showcased anything. Now that Zebec has been able to have ISO 20022 compliance, now that Zebec has had partnerships with something like Algorand and also Tangem, I feel like there's a lot more going on for it fundamentally as opposed to back then. And Circle even believed in it back then. And supposedly, they're still believing in it right now, right? Because allegedly, Circle holds a significant amount of ZBCN. And unless they randomly just exited out of Zebec completely, I find it very hard for me to just give up on something like Zebec. This is personally my perspective. Now, I'm not going to do everything exactly what Circle does, but I feel like those type of large entities, they know projects, right, that have the fundamentals. They know ones that are sound fundamentally. So personally for me, I just haven't given up because I feel like when I first entered into ZBCN back in, late 2024, it was a lot harder for me to believe in it back then because keep in mind, the market cap at that point was like below 80 million. Now, sure, it's around 200 million, and hypothetically, maybe it could go lower, depending on the market, but I can't control that. But I just feel like even if it goes to like 150 million or whatever, I feel like it's even harder for me to hold back then. So this is why I personally just haven't given up, because when the conditions were not favorable whatsoever, even I was holding back then. So as of right now, it just makes no sense for me to give up. This is personally my own perspective. I'm not telling anyone to do anything. But if a project has an aspect of Solana, if it has backers like it does, like I mentioned before, and also on top of that, if I take a look at being focused on a robust, relatively speaking, market like global trade and finance, and also on top of that, having an aspect of ISO 20022, it's just pretty difficult for me to give up on that. This is just personally my perspective. So I'm still going to be doing what I've been doing. I'm going to be dollar cost averaging once a month, holding, and that's it. But I just don't want to give up. This is personally my mindset currently. However, again, I'm not telling anyone to do anything. And ZBCN, keep in mind, the amount of holders, it's still around 90,000. So it's not like it dipped by that much. It's just the charts are not doing the best. But you know what? Ethereum's having a pullback. Bitcoin's having a pullback. So what? Randomly, ZBCN's going to go on a run of its own? I highly doubt that. So it's just doing what a bunch of other projects are doing. I'm still waiting. I'm still staying patient, and I just don't want to give up. Imagine if I only believed in things when they're doing good and then just giving up when things are doing bad. I just don't get that. There's just no longevity in it for me if I do that personally, even though I'm not telling anyone to do anything. Because imagine, right, if I'm only dollar cost averaging when things are up here and then exiting when things are down here, what's the point for me? I don't want to do that. So I'm still going to be waiting. I'm still going to be staying patient, but I just don't want to give up. However, I'm not telling anyone to do anything. I want to say thank you for watching. I hope you all have a very nice day. It's been Lee the Captain, and I'll see y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.